One of the most exciting components of professional wrestling has always been a solid tag team division. When I first started watching professional wrestling, it was during the Attitude Era. I got into wrestling at the age of 98, and at the age of 8, in 1998, just as the Attitude Era was taking shape. And I had the fortunateness, if that's even a word, I made one, whatever, of seeing some really great tag teams during that time. Like the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys, the New Age Outlaws, APA. You know, even for what they were, Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett were a solid tag team. I actually really liked the pairing of D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry. I thought they were a very entertaining tag team. The brothers, the early incarnation of Taker and Kane as a tag team was a cool idea. Though I don't think they really went further with it until, later on, like in 2001. But anyway, tag team wrestling has always been something special and something fun to watch. Especially in the year 2000, where the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian dominated the tag team division and put on probably some of the greatest matches of all time. The WrestleMania 2000 Triangle Ladder match was excellent. The original TLC match from SummerSlam of that year was outstanding. Then a month later, you had the Hardys and you had the Hardys and ENC do a really entertaining cage match at that year's Unforgiven show. The point I'm trying to make is that tag team wrestling could be extremely exciting and so much fun to watch. Not in modern day WWE, because they want to fuck that shit up too. What has happened to the tag team division on the main roster with the WWE? Especially now in this day and age where you got some goddamn good tag teams and you are completely underutilizing them to the point where it's embarrassing to even see them on TV. You have Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, who in NXT put on classics against American Alpha, classics against DIY. NXT Toronto, 2 out of 3 Falls tag team match. Me and my 2 other friends, we loved that match. It was amazing seeing just how excellent the Revival and DIY have when it comes to chemistry. It was almost like seeing, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson take on Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart in a way, so to speak, only with a modern update. It was fast-paced, it was exciting, it was main event worthy of any pay-per-view. You get the AOP, who I feel are like a modern day version of like a Demolition or the Road Warriors. That badass big bruising brawlers who come in there and beat the living shit out of you. AOP, very, very, very underrated tag team also in the ring, because they're actually quite good at what they do. They have that presence, a uniqueness to them. You have the Ascension, whether you like them or you hate them, like the AOP. They can be a big brawling tag team of just dominance. So what happens with these teams? DUI broke up in NXT, whatever. That's what it is. But the AOP, they've been on Raw for about a month and a half. They've had 1 match, maybe 2, and what happened? Where are they? They're nowhere to be found. The Revival, hampered by injuries, yes, but since both men have been healthy, they have been turned to ice. They are ice. When you look at them on TV, you get those chills down your spine because what you're witnessing are 2 igloos in the ring. 2 very cold igloos that can make you cold from your living room. That's how ice cold they are with momentum. Non-existent. Now, you can salvage the tag team division. It is not that hard to make interesting, compelling tag team wrestling happen. Yes, you do have teams like Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel for comedic effect. Yes, you got Breezango for comedic effect. Yes, you got Titus and Apollo for comedic effect. But that doesn't mean that you can't book them in situations where they can come across as credible teams. ENC, they were a glorified comedy tag team, but they made that they can take their comedic elements and they can also have a vicious side to them, hence the concerto, or whenever they would cheat to win by using heinous acts. Edge and Christian was a perfect mold of goofy comedy and seriousness to them. It could work with a team like maybe the B team. You can make that work with a team like the B team. It's not that hard to do. I think Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel are extremely underrated in that they get discredited enough to pull things like these off because the company will not give them a chance to shine. They get glimmers, but it's too cheesy. Breezango and Fandango last year at the Fashion Files, that stuff was okay. Now they're done. They're finished. Either make them serious or just get rid of them because that whole shtick is passé now. It is over. It is last year's news. It is no longer entertaining. It is no longer funny. The comedy has been stilted because you ran it into the ground instead of having it happen once in a blue moon. The appeal and the effect is over with now. The Revival. It's a damn shame that a throwback to a team like Anderson and Blanchard is being so underutilized, and it's so ridiculous how fans look at them and don't take them seriously and call them boring. Were you people calling a team like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard boring when they were facing teams like the Road Warriors and the Koloffs back in the day? No, you weren't. You were invested. You can do that with the Revival. You can invest into the Revival if you book them and write them in ways where they look like ass kickers and not assholes. And then you got Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. A mixed match team, yes. But their characters can work if you just utilize Matt Hardy's woken, broken, whatever you want to call it, gimmick now. It could work. And that was proven with the Ultimate Deletion back in late March. Bray Wyatt's character can fit that world. Matt Hardy can bring those two as a team can bring some intrigue if you have them appear less in matches and have them appear more in the woken universe. You can actually make them feel more relevant and not irrelevant. These are things that could work, that can make a division actually work. No, yeah, you have a team like Heath Slater and Rhino, who are this there, but you can use that. You can use Slater and Rhino as like a Cinderella team every once in a blue moon. Well, that when you're like when you need a placeholder team for, let's say, the AOP for a first title defense, you can throw in a Slater and Rhino after a good little streak of wins, and they can look somewhat credible against an AOP because they do have a prior tag title reign on SmackDown, so they have some legitimacy as a team. Not a lot, just some. You can make it work if you book them the right way. There's no the whole notion of, oh, I can't buy. It's wrestling, all right. If you can buy the character of Walter White can go from a mild-mannered man to a drug kingpin, then you can buy Heath Slater and Rhino in a storyline against the AOP for the tag team titles. It's not that different. It's actually quite similar in a way, minus the drugs and all that shit. Let's go on to SmackDown. The Bludgeon Brothers, who are, again, in the same vein as an AOP, in the same vein as an Ascension. They can be a big, brawling, ass-kicking tag team. Instead, they are the champions, and they're just unengaging. And it's the situations they're being put in. You have the Usos, and I've always been very hot and cold on the Usos. Yes, I understand that last year the Usos and the New Day were having all these matches. But at the end of the day, it led to absolutely nothing in the end because both teams are no longer hot. The Usos, they're teetering on going on cold right now. The New Day, to me, they've been overexposed and they're just boring to watch. Big E needs to leave that group and go on his own to the glory of being a major league main event player down the road within the next year or two. Because if you continue to have Big E be saddled with this New Day crap, with pancakes and syrup and looking like a fucking suspect-looking motherfucker, I don't think anyone will ever take him seriously. It's hard to take him seriously now when he's rubbing pancakes all over himself like a fucking weirdo. And Kofi, the time to push Kofi in the main event scene, that is over now. And I can no longer buy Kofi in the main event scene. He's just irrelevant. Xavier Woods, I just don't care. He's good in the ring, yes, but Xavier Woods, I see more potential in a Big E than I do a Xavier Woods. I would put Xavier Woods in the Cruiserweight division and give that some more beef. I think Xavier Woods would be a perfect fit for a Cruiserweight division, not so much a world title division. Hell, I can even buy Xavier Woods in a mid-card U.S. title division as well. I think that's it for the SmackDown tag teams. I don't remember who else is on that. Oh yeah, and you got Gallows and Anderson. Again, you know, see the AOP, see the Ascension, see the Bludgeon Brothers. Again, Gallows and Anderson. They can be a big brawling tag team. Instead, they're just there collecting a check, and you give them a moderate push, and then you turn them ice again. Why does WWE hate tag team wrestling so much? Why are they so against the concept of tag team wrestling when some of their best boom periods was covered with iconic tag teams? The 80s, you had fucking Demolition, you had the Hart Foundation, you had the Nasty Boys, you had teams like Tito Santana and I think it was Rick Martel, Strike Force, or it could have been, I think it was Santana, Martel, Strike Force. You had, you know, teams like the Killer Bees. You had teams like Sheik and Cole and Volkov. You go to the 90s. Again, you still had the Hart Foundation, but they're at their tail end. And, of course, when Brett was about to go the ascension of a single star. But you still had the Hart Foundation in the 90s and at the early portion of the 1990s. And you had teams, and of course, the WWE had recently brought in the Road Warriors during the 1990s. Demolition was still around in the 90s as well. You still had credible team in the early 90s. Then when you get to the late 90s, going into the 2000s, then you're just covered in tag teams. Again, Outlaws, APA, you know, fucking the Hardys, the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, Too Cool, any combination with the Radicals. No, tag team wrestling can be so much fun if you book it and take it seriously, because it's something that can get the crowd excited. Book your tag team division like it matters, WWE, or just don't have tag team titles and don't have tag team matches if you're going to continue to whip out your cocks and piss all over it. That's it. Rant over. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you agree with my opinions? Let me know why. Do you disagree with my opinions? Let me know why. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you all next time. Later.